keep throwing it.
Right, I'll tell you now, right, the objective, the main of
2 minutes and 20 seconds. That is all it took. Ben Whittaker walked into Liverpool's M&S Bank Arena on April 18, 2026, stepped in front of thousands of screaming fans, on short notice, as the main event, and completely destroyed Brian Suarez in round 1.
test against the heavy-hitting Argentinian. But what he's done there is he's looked fantastic. He's looked brutal, hurtful. You know, this is how you generate.
The crowd went absolutely insane. The knockdown was clean, the finish was emphatic, and Whittaker stood over his fallen opponent like a man who knew exactly what he was doing.
I mean, hence why it landed there.
So perfect for you.
I think it was definitely a knockout. I think it was definitely the right decision. But I do think.
But here is what nobody is really talking about. Here is the part of the story that most channels will skip over. Just over a year ago, people were writing Ben Whittaker completely off. They called him a showboater.
That was good, innit? That was good, baby. First of all, Liverpool, thank you very much for turning out. Thank you for Matchroom for keeping the show on. And thank you to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, every time. But what did I say backstage, man? I have my two best friends, Des and Troy. And what did they make? Destroy, baby. You see what happened? You see what happened?
They said he would never be serious enough to compete at the highest level. They said he was all style and no substance, a YouTube highlight reel fighter who would crumble the moment he faced real pressure. Critics lined up to bury him.
Get more serious, and is this a serious test against Brian Suarez, the 34-year-old from Buenos Aires?
Fans started to doubt him. And honestly, looking at where he was in late 2024, you could understand why. So the question that everyone should be asking is, what changed? How did this man go from being written off after a draw with Liam Cameron to becoming the most exciting light heavyweight on the planet?
He's grabbed this fight by the scruff of the neck, straight in the centre of the ring, working behind a sharp jab, looking to counter with the right hand. Very, very positive. It's about Suarez now. How does he deal with this hand speed? How can he land these heavy...
The answer is one conversation. In Dubai. With one of the greatest fighters who has ever lived. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why that moment changed everything for Ben Whittaker, and why this man is now on a collision course with the world title.
Regularly in the first minute of the first round.
And Suarez finding fresh air. He was a mile away with that hook as he got the legs still in it.
Before we get to Dubai, before we talk about the transformation, before we break down what is coming next, you need to truly understand who Ben Whittaker is, where he came from, and why the boxing world had such enormous expectations for him from the very beginning.
But look at him here.
Look at the intelligence, really good use of that lead hand, head, body, softening up Suarez. Yeah, the issue for Suarez, not only does he have to worry about the hand speed and the placement, the accuracy of Whittaker's shots, it's the lack of hand speed that he has. And when you're a sharp shooter, a good counter-puncher, like Whittaker is, that will be your downfall.
And I think it's more the heaviness of his feet.
The moment that announced Ben Whittaker to the entire world came at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Competing in the light heavyweight division, Whittaker put on performances that had boxing fans buzzing with excitement.
Yep, beginning to send out a couple of distress signals, and now he's in big distress. A right hand has laid him out here.
His style was unlike anything people were used to seeing in amateur boxing: fluid, creative, unpredictable, and incredibly entertaining. He moved through the tournament with a confidence and flair that felt almost arrogant, but was completely backed up by his performances. He reached the Olympic final, and what happened next still frustrates British boxing fans to this day. He lost the gold medal fight in a decision that many observers, and I mean many, felt was unjust. He came home with a silver medal, but in the hearts of those who watched, he was the real champion. He turned professional with a level of hype that very few British fighters have ever carried into their debut. Promoters wanted him. Networks wanted to broadcast him. Fans were already buying tickets just to see him perform. Because beyond the talent, beyond the skill, beyond the Olympic pedigree, Ben Whittaker had something that cannot be taught. He had star quality. The kind of charisma that But then came October 2024, and everything that people had been quietly whispering about Ben Whittaker suddenly became very loud. The opponent was Liam Cameron, a decent British fighter, a tough and experienced professional, but not someone who was supposed to give Whittaker serious problems. This was meant to be a statement win. A performance that would silence the doubters and push Whittaker firmly into world title conversations. Instead, it ended in a 5-round technical draw in Saudi Arabia. And the boxing world absolutely erupted. The criticism that followed was brutal. Every pundit, every fan, every rival fighter who had been watching from a distance suddenly had something to say. They pointed to the moments in the fight where Whittaker had Cameron hurt, where he had his man wobbling and ready to be finished, and instead of pulling the trigger, he backed off, started dancing, started showboating, started playing to the crowd. He was more interested in the spectacle than the result. He was entertaining the audience instead of finishing his opponent. And the most damaging part of all the criticism was this: it was not entirely wrong. Because the truth is, Ben Whittaker had a habit that was starting to seriously limit his potential. He was so addicted to the performance side of boxing, the dancing, the taunting, the crowd interaction, that he was leaving real opportunities on the table. He had the knockout power. He had the timing. He had the combinations. But instead of letting them fly in the moments that mattered most, he would pull back and give the crowd a show. Some fighters can get away with that. Some fighters are so dominant that they can afford to coast and entertain. But when you are still building your record, still trying to prove yourself, still trying to get to that world title, you cannot afford to play. You have to finish. You have to be ruthless. And in that Cameron fight, Ben Whittaker was every T. At some point in the period following the Cameron draw, Ben Whittaker found himself in Dubai attending a boxing event. And this is where the story takes a turn that nobody could have scripted. Because across the room, Whittaker spotted Terence Crawford. Now if you are a serious boxing fan, you already know exactly who Terence Crawford is and why this moment matters so much. But for anyone who needs a quick reminder, Bud Crawford is widely regarded as one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters on the planet. He is an undisputed champion who has never tasted defeat as a professional. He is a man who has beaten everyone put in front of him, who has dominated multiple weight classes, and who carries himself with the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who knows exactly what it takes to be a true champion. Crawford is not the type of fighter who hands out compliments easily. He is not the type of man who goes around telling other fighters they are great just to make them feel good. So when Ben Whittaker approached him, he probably was not expecting what he was about to hear. Crawford looked at him and said, and Whittaker repeated this word for word at his post-fight press conference after the Suarez knockout. "Trust me, bro, you're a great fighter. You've got all the skill, but you play with your food too much." 5 words. Play with your food too much. That was it. That was the whole message. And it hit Whittaker like a perfectly timed overhand right. Because here's the thing about hearing the truth from someone you deeply respect. It lands completely differently than hearing it from a critic, from a rival, from a pundit on television. When a random person on Twitter tells you that you showboat too much, it is easy to dismiss. When your promoter gently suggests you should be more aggressive, it is easy to nod and move on without really changing. But when Terence Crawford, a man who has lived everything you are chasing, what happened next was nothing short of remarkable, and the results are there for everyone to see. After the Crawford conversation, Whittaker made a significant change in his setup. He began working with trainer Andy Lee, a former world champion himself who understood exactly what it meant to perform at the highest level in professional boxing. And something clicked almost immediately. The combination of Crawford's words still ringing in his ears and Lee's guidance in the gym produced a version of Ben Whittaker that the boxing world had never quite seen before. Still entertaining, still the showman that everyone fell in love with, but now with a ruthless, clinical edge that was completely new. He addressed it perfectly after the Suarez fight, and I want you to really hear what he said because it perfectly captures the evolution. I can do both. I can hop on one foot, I can spin around, I can look into the crowd. But if the shot is there to take, that is what I like to do now. Read that back. He did not say he was going to become a boring fighter. He did not say he was going to abandon his personality or his showmanship. He said he was going to do both, entertain and finish. And the results since that shift have been absolutely electric. In April 2025 he went back and fought Liam Cameron in a rematch. The same man he drew with, and stopped him in round 2. Revenge served cold and clinically. Then in November 2025, he stepped in against Benjamin Gavazzi, and put him down in the very first round with a devastating knockout that had the whole arena on their feet. And then just days ago, April 18, 2026, he walked into Liverpool as the last-minute main event replacement, faced Brian Suarez, a man with 20 knockouts on his record, and stopped him in 2 minutes and 20 seconds with a crushing overhand right. 3 consecutive stoppages. Back-to-back first-round knockouts. A professional record that now reads 11 wins. And now the dream that Ben Whittaker has spoken about throughout his entire professional career is finally becoming reality, and the timeline is moving faster than almost anyone expected. Right there in the Liverpool ring, with the crowd still buzzing from the Suarez knockout, promoter Eddie Hearn grabbed the microphone and made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Ben Whittaker is making his American debut on June 27, 2026, at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. He will appear on the undercard of Jaron Boots Ennis vs. Xander Zayas, one of the most highly anticipated fights of the entire year, and he will introduce himself to the American boxing audience on one of the biggest stages the sport has to offer. This is not a small moment. This is enormous. The Barclays Center is where superstars go to announce themselves. It is where careers are made and legacies are built. And the fact that Eddie Hearn has placed Whittaker on this card, in front of that audience, on that platform, tells you everything about how highly rated this young man is. Before the fight, Whittaker gave an interview where he was asked about the possibility of fighting in America, and his answer was brilliant. He said, "I've even already got the ring walk planned." That is the mentality of a star. That is the confidence of a man who does not just believe he belongs on the biggest stages. He has been mentally rehearsing for them for years. And Hearn's plan does not stop at New York. After the US debut, the vision is to come back to the UK and headline in Birmingham in August or September, with Anthony Yard or Lyndon Arthur being mentioned as potential opponents for what would be a massive domestic showdown. And then, if everything goes according to plan, which right now it absolutely is, Hearn has publicly stated his belief that by 2027, Ben Whittaker will be ready for every single 175-pounder on the planet. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps more boxing fans find this channel and keeps us growing. Drop in the comments below who you want to see Ben Whittaker fight for his first world title shot, Bivol, Benavidez, or someone else entirely. I want to read every single one of your opinions. And if you are new here and you love boxing content that goes deeper than just highlights, subscribe to Boxing Giga. We cover the sport the way it deserves to be covered. I will see you in the next one.